Hey everyone, please check out and support the DC Pride anthology coming out this week with a bunch of amazing artists and writers telling queer stories in the DC universe. We have something very special coming up for that. We're going to do a Pride Spectacular with more details over on our Twitter. Hello and welcome to the Gotham Outsiders, the therapist crashing your heist. I'm your host, Bat Obsessive Chris, and making Nightwing blush, it's my co-host, TJ.
Hi everyone, I am your Chris proclaimed Batman acolyte per usual.
And we have a very special set of two guests, Harley Quinn philosopher, JOCELYN.
Hello, good to be back.
And first time guest, Poison Ivy enthusiast and local menace, Deborah.
Hi.
Hey. Well, thank you both for coming back. JOCELYN, it's great to have you again. And Deborah, we've been trying to get you on since we started this thing.
I've been listening in the background.
I'm pretty sure, Deborah, you were our first ever listener.
Aw.
I think I was. That's my claim to fame right now.
She's
I
still
love that.
scarred from the Grant Morrison book we started with. I'm sorry.
Oh my gosh.
Who among us isn't scarred by Grant Morrison?
Oh, well, for anyone listening, the four of us are good friends outside of the podcasting world. So we are indoctrinating Deborah, and we are, halfway there with JOCELYN already. So we're excited. We tempted you both with a Harley Ivy short. And before we get into it, Chris, is there an impromptu game tonight?
Yes, this game is spur of the moment. The guests were literally rattling the cages to get a game. So we're going to have one. So we're going to play a brand new game. We are going to play Rip It or Ship It. Are you too familiar? Are you too familiar with Rip It or Ship It?
Yes, I've played this before.
Seems pretty self-explanatory.
I have heard of it. This is something we played in an episode coming up real soon. So I am excited to dabble once again.
Yes. So for those who don't know, Rip It or Ship It, as the name might imply, I'm going to give you a pairing. You will each tell me whether you rip it or ship it and defend your stance. The person who I end up agreeing with is the one who gets the point.
Yay.
All right.
You just have to convince an audience of me. All right.
Doable. Very doable.
So your first ship at random, Nightwing and Harley Quinn.
Ooh.
Okay.
So we just tell you if we ship it?
Do you rip it or do you ship it? TJ.
I'm gonna say I'm in the middle because I watched the Batman Harley Quinn movie, which was in the animated series universe, and they fucking that, and it was really weird because she's like, "Oh, you used to be the boy wonder, now you're a man," and I was like, "Ugh." But like they're kind of hot together. But overall, I'm gonna say rip it.
Okay, TJ rips it. JOCELYN.
So that's a tricky one, but there's that part of me that really says ship it. I love the theatrics of it. I love the whole like Harley's like, oh, you're not a boy anymore. Like I love that like she goes after him and is like, you're hot, I'm hot, let's do it. And I love hot people.
They're both flexible, and maybe he's like trying to cheat
so
her.
flexible. They're both acrobats. It's like such a very interesting dynamic. Just like even like think about like their costumes next to each other. Like that's so much spandex.
It's a
bisexual dream.
Deborah, rip it or ship it?
I am going to go with rip it only because maybe this is like an easy way out. I'm a diehard Harley Ivy shipper, so I don't want to see Harley with anybody except Ivy. And that's my entire argument right there, is that she's better with somebody else.
Those are fair arguments.
Are all the other questions going to have Harley? Because we know Deborah's answer.
Also, even though I've listened to this podcast, I'm still not 100% sure which one Nightwing is. I know he wears blue and black, but I also don't know if that's also Dick Grayson, so I'm not
Yes.
sure.
Yes, it is. It
Oh,
is.
yay! Okay,
He's the one with the butt.
He's the best butt in all of
the
DC
butt
Comics.
one.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
Massive
I'm still
dog.
seeing Rip It. His butt can go to somebody else. Ivy or Harley's butt belongs to Ivy.
I'll take his butt.
I was gonna say, give that sweet tush to TJ.
Directly to TJ. Well, TJ can have the tush, but JOCELYN gets the point because that was a great argument.
Oh,
I helped a little bit.
plot twist.
So true, bestie.
All right. For our second round, we're going to go to a different member of the Sirens. We are going to go to Catwoman with Harvey Dent.
I don't know if Deborah knows who that is.
Deborah, Two-Face.
Two-Face.
Is that the Penguin?
No, Two-Face.
Two-Face.
He flips the coin.
Is he the one who was like half of his face is purple at one point? Like,
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, he's
Have you
so
seen The Dark
ugly.
Knight?
Yeah, I watched it in a film class once and fell asleep.
He was the one that got his face burnt.
A film class is the worst place to watch any Batman movie. I'm going to throw that out there.
She's like, I fell asleep before that happened.
I was also the only woman in that
Oh,
class.
no,
and
Deborah,
so-
no. I'm trying to imagine watching a
no,
Christopher
no.
Nolan movie with film bros, and it makes me hurt inside. So
Not the film bros. Ooh, that's a nightmare.
I'll start. I'm going to rip it because I'm
Oh.
trying to imagine like Selena, who is a person for the people and a politician, and I'm just not seeing it. I don't think they would vibe. Like maybe they could have some good sex, but I don't think their personalities would go together.
which half of him would she have the good sex with?
Out of pocket.
What about both at once?
There you go. JOCELYN, rip it or ship it.
Oh, that's a big rip. Especially like after the Telltale games, like them together, I was like I shriveled a little bit. And they don't have that chemistry. But what's so good about Selena, she can like play it up. This goes back to like the hot people. I love hot people.
Yes.
And she's too hot for him. She's like, it's like real hot girl shit. And
Preach,
Harvey, what?
preach.
What? Like, what does he have to offer?
Harvey
Okay, you
Dent
busted.
is beautiful in certain iterations.
No, TJ.
Okay.
Okay, TJ is well established that he would fuck Harvey Dent, even if he was peeing on himself in an asylum. So
Yeah.
Oh
don't know
my
if I
gosh.
That's another
What
illness.
movie was that?
judge me.
That-
It would be
that
a
was
Grant
Grant
Morrison.
Morrison.
obviously it's a Grant Morrison.
Uh,
Deborah,
Big
rip-
okay. I almost wanted to say ship it, but it's only because I feel like there would be a chance to make some good jokes. Like Selena could look at him and be like, "Oh, looks like the cat's got your tongue and half your face." But that's like,
you
and
could
then
write
it's just
Batman with jokes
boring.
like that.
and then like, you know what? Grant Morrison, step aside. There's a new writer in town.
I was trying to
see,
make
then,
a
like-
bi joke because she's bisexual and he's like two people.
Oh my god. The
But also,
duality.
like, I'm with JOCELYN on this, and like, I'm sorry, he's not hot. That one eyeball, I remember he's got like that bulging eyeball in the movie.
Okay,
And
when
I don't
he's
want that
not
eyeball.
Two-Face, he's sexy. And
Right,
even when
okay.
half of him is like super hot and the
He's
other
like-
half is gross, I'd still go
He
for
kind
it.
of looks. I'm gonna say rip it. He's lackluster. Selena needs a little more spice in her life, a little more catnip.
Ooh. This point is hard because you all agree, which makes it trickier. But Deborah had all of the puns, so Deborah gets the points.
Heck yeah!
That's fair.
All right, for our third round, we're leaving the Sirens behind for now, and we're going to jump into the Bat family, which hopefully this random pairing Deborah will have heard of. We're going to go with grown-up John from the Super Family and
John. Do we get a last name?
Kent.
Think of like Superboy.
Oh, okay.
Oh, John
Superboy,
Kent. This
baby
is,
Superboy, but he's an adult in this version. And pulling from my random pile, would you know it? I got Damien.
Oh wow! What a coincidence.
Youngest Robin.
Can I
ship it.
just wait, I just need to cut in here and say, I was like, okay, let me at least get a visual. So I Googled really fast John Kent, and all of the images are the most generic old white men. There's not a single Batman character showing up.
Put DC after it, and then it'll
Yes.
work.
Oh, okay. Here we go. Continue.
Oh my god.
Everyone's Googling.
Everyone Googles. Maybe this game shouldn't have been so spur of the moment, is what I'm realizing.
No, you're
I'm
fine.
living. Okay, TJ, you
This
go
is
ahead
a
before I
learning
get going.
experience for them. I ship it. We already covered this in our Super
Sons.
Super Sons episode. And especially if they're grown up, like I think there would be a really cute dynamic where like Damien is super angsty and he would be shorter, and John would fly him around everywhere. And I know there's a title coming out here soon where John is like the new Superman and he's like an older teenager. So
Yeah.
I would ship it. I think it would be really cute.
All right, Deborah and JOCELYN, who do not know these characters, I'm excited to hear your arguments.
I'm a little like familiar with Damien, and then looking up pictures of good old John. I think it would be very precious for them to like be childhood friends, like such a sweet, like, oh, just like wholesome boys having good time together. And then as they get older, they realize like, oh my god, I love him more than a friend. And like, I feel like that'd be such a good, you can have like such an exploration of like different kinds of love, like juvenile love and like the genuine love of friends, and then how it develops into a romantic love. I ship it. Beautiful, beautiful boys, stunning eleganza. I love
that argument. Great job, Deborah. Tossing
okay.
to you.
I do remember the last episode that you guys talked about this with Sarwat. That was a great episode.
Yay.
I'm looking at photos of them now, like trying to picture this. I'm going to say, I guess I'm going like 50-50 on this, and it's the opposite of what JOCELYN said. So once they turn like 18, 19, all their childhood tension boils over into a romance. They have like a 5-year thing. And then Damien, the only times I've ever read him, he annoys me so badly. So I imagine that Damien ruins it for them. They go off, they like have their own romances elsewhere. And then like 20 years later, they come back to it. And then there's maybe something there. So ship it with a question mark with potential for chaos.
That was a whole ass fanfic right there, and I loved it.
That was pretty
just like
detailed.
his father.
I'm gonna give a point to everyone because those were all amazing arguments.
Yay!
For our final round of Rip It or Ship It, this is a free-for-all. Basically, what you have to do is come up with your own ship and pitch it to me. I will pick my favorite based on your argument. It can be anyone. Go crazy.
I can start.
Okay.
This is a ship that came about within the last couple of years. It was in one of the DC animated movies. It was John Constantine and King Shark. And apparently they fuck, and it's amazing. And I love both of them. So like picture like angsty John Constantine chain smoking, and then you have like the King Shark from like the Harley Quinn TV show where he's like a big old like baby boy. He's great. Like they would be so fun.
That would be so charming. I had originally just jumped to Tom Taylor's King Shark, and my brain was like, no, I can't do it in my head. But if you go Harley Quinn TV show King Shark, yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Oh, I'm so excited.
The first one that popped into my head, it popped in Ace and Crypto the Super Dog.
Ooh, I love this.
I don't know why. I don't know why, but all I can imagine is just like like sweet little puppy love where they just like smooch on the nose, very Lady and the
Oh.
Tramp-esque. They, like walks in the park and they just snuggle and groom each other. And
This is so charming.
I think I just want a doggy, but
do they have the same dynamic as Superman and Batman, but as dogs? Because I just want to know.
oh my God. Okay, yes, that just makes it so much better.
Aw.
Okay, I'm sold. I sold
Picture
it for myself.
Crypto, like going to get a bone, like they like flying to go get it and then bringing it back to Ace.
And Ace figures out everything about the person who had that bone before.
That's so good.
I ship it. That's
I ship it too. That was adorable.
Same. I love that. Okay, so I think part of this is just based on like aesthetics alone, because I don't know too much about the one character, but I'm gonna go with Huntress and Hawk Girl.
Ooh.
I think the two of them together, first of all, they would look hot as hell fighting crime anywhere.
Agreed.
Plus you get like one in the ground, one in the air, so they're like a double trouble right there.
Love it. Very tactical.
And I just think like, I don't know, I feel like their vibes, from what I know, they'd like click well with one another. And it would be a really good, healthy relationship. Yeah, that's my ship.
I'm picturing the not safe for work fan art, like Hawk Girl with her
Oh, me too.
like turn that mace the other way.
Ooh.
I ship it.
Oh boy.
Ooh, these are so good. I love this so much. Everyone gets a point.
Yay!
Yay.
Oh yeah.
Which means at the end of our quiz, Jocelyn and Deborah are tied.
Heck yeah, bestie.
Ooh, yes, love that for us.
Oh, so does this mean TJ lost again?
It sure does.
I have won a few times now.
You have
That's
won like
true,
at
that's
least
true.
twice.
Yeah, I've stopped
you
keeping
go.
track. It makes me feel better. Well, that was fun. And today we are going to be talking about the short story Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy in The Beginning by Tim Seeley and Rebecca Isaacs on art. And this was in the DC Valentine's special anthology, which was called Love is a Battlefield. So I made all of you read this in preparation of this episode. What did you guys think?
Oh my goodness. It was the epitome of short and sweet. It was very refreshing, and I love that certain like the little things I loved about it, like very tiny things are like the costume changes. I'm very into Harley's outfits, and so when we get to see her as Dr. Quinzel and then the traditional Harley Quinn outfit, and a few panels later we see her in more of like a Suicide Squad-esque Arkham era with the pigtails and the tights and the spandex, and and then of course in closing we see her as a beautiful senior lady with her bandana and
A hospital gown.
I just can't get over it's like such a subtle detail, and even the way we know who's talking, the way the dialogue panels are like green for Ivy, red for Harley, like it's such a tiny thing. And even like the little details in the art, like the texture of the vines on Ivy's boots and the little plush bear that Harley's holding, like I'm just super invested in the minuscule details that really bring the piece together like that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Deborah, how about you?
I agree. This was super sweet, and I wish it had been like a full-length book. I absolutely would have read just like page after page of this. And I love that their dialogue genuinely sounds like two friends, like two lovers talking together. Like, who hasn't sat down with their friends and been like, oh, do you remember this time? And you did this, and I did this, and it caused this problem. Like, that's such a fun thing to see two characters do. And just the way it built up, it really felt like they had this whole history together, and you could picture it so vividly. And the fact that they did that in like, what was this, 9 pages? Incredible. Big fan.
Yeah,
Aw.
absolutely. All of that. I really love too the way it sort of recontextualizes the history that exists in the comics since they weren't intended to be
Yes.
together, but the way that it is written like that, like it made it seem as if it had always been the case that they were going to end up together. And it was so perfect. I love how it starts that they like respected and admired each other and then it developed into love. Like that is so charming. It was amazing. I loved every second of it.
Yes. I
Right.
love
It's
just the
just
ending reveal of them being old, reflecting on their whole life together. Like, it's so sweet. This was
Yes.
probably the sweetest story in the whole anthology. You can skip all the other ones. This was the best one. And I just love that
Oh my
every
gosh.
page is like a dedication to an era of their life together. Like, we
Yeah.
don't really get a ton of panels. There's just one page that has panels on it, and every other page is just like a splash, like beautiful, like depiction of a scene, and it's so pretty.
Yeah,
they're just
absolutely.
so easy
But
and effortless together. You know, like how the intention wasn't for them to end up together, but it just makes sense. You know, you can
Yeah.
look back at the past and the initial start of their relationship and how it could very easy turn into a very good and genuine romantic relationship.
Absolutely.
oh, I was just gonna say what you were saying about the pages. Yeah, there's no panels. You just get like this one big page after page, but each one feels like a wholly realized story. It doesn't feel like they're skimping
Yes.
out on it. Like you can feel the whole adventure behind it between their dialogue and everything going on. It feels like you're getting a peek into like a whole other story that exists already.
Yeah, like you want a whole volume about that one page. Like,
Oh,
uh
yes.
but the Harley Quinn TV show, I mean, super popular, and it's seen here how it's like bleeding into the comics because the character of Frank the Plant, I don't know if you guys remember
Yes.
him, but he has like a cameo in the background in one of the pages where
Yes,
there's
he does.
multiple Franks. And then in one of the pages, Poison Ivy is wearing her outfit from the Harley Quinn TV show, which I love, with the vines on the pant legs. It's just such a good outfit.
Yes. Yes. They definitely leaned into her kind of show personality too, being just like a misanthrope, which is more heavily realized in this story than it is usually in the comics. It's much more aligned with that version of her.
And the artist Rebecca Isaacs is like one of my favorite comic book artists. We all know I love Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and
What?
I know she was my favorite artist that did long running work on the Buffy comics. So I've
Yeah.
been familiar with her for a long time, and I don't think she's ever been better than here in this short story.
Oh
Agree.
yeah, the art is so well done. Like from the first panel, just the way they're so like their expressions just pop off the page and they look realistic. You know, so many people draw women in comics as like really contorted or not. Like they don't look like real humans. And these two do.
Yeah,
Now, did you
absolutely.
guys cry at the ending reveal where it's uh they're getting like reborn with a seed? I'm looking at Deborah
Ugh.
specifically.
There was definitely a couple little tears because it was especially when they mentioned that like their memories won't be the same. Um, and then Harley's like, yeah, but there's things I want to do better next time. Oh,
Oh.
yeah, there were some tears.
Oh,
It was an emotional gut punch.
Maybe we
yes.
can we pretend that the rebirth is like rebirth, the retcon of the comics? That's my
That makes
headcanon.
sense to me. That makes sense to me.
Ooh, okay.
I love that because she says the thing she wants to do differently is that they would meet sooner. And I love it. Oh, my
Oh.
heart. I'm gonna cry now.
The page that, you know, really dug at my heart was the one where they're in Ivy's lab with all the Franks and
Yeah.
Harley is clinging at her leg, just crying, and Ivy's trying her best to comfort her. Um, and
Oh.
that really got me because it's like, oh my gosh, so true, bestie. Like, you go to somebody in your time of need and you make it work and you heal and you develop new love and you come to a realization that somebody does love you in a different way. And the way it takes off, you know, I'm super into Harley because of how much she loves and unapologetically she loves, and the different kinds of love she experiences. And so the page with her just like going through it with Ivy, that got me. I was like, I'm with you there, girl. But then, of course, you know, our closing page where she says, I want to find you earlier, Ivy. I was like, you will. You will, girl.
I love that so much.
So, Deborah, why do you love Poison Ivy?
So like I said, I don't know like too much about all the characters, but the little bits and pieces I've read and like seen with her, I like her because she's not like your typical villain. The fact that what does she call herself, like eco-terrorist or an eco-villain? The fact that she isn't just like, she's not after money, she's not after trying to be like the baddest bad guy in town. She's not trying to constantly just kill Batman, Joker. She's not your regular villain. She has a purpose. She goes after it. And kind of like what JOCELYN was saying about Harley being like so unapologetic about her emotions, I feel like you could say the same about Poison Ivy and her mission. She knows what she wants and she goes after it. And it's also like, I support her eco-terrorism. Maybe that's horrible to say, but she's trying to save the rainforest and she's trying to take care of the earth. And that's so admirable. And I don't know another Batman quote unquote villain I could say that about. And the fact that she's like a hot woman doing all this makes it 10 times better.
Oh yeah.
I just love every aspect of her.
You're right. We're like, they're also sexy.
And also
for the girls and the gays.
It's hot girl eco-terrorism. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Like, what else could you want from a woman? That's
honestly,
it.
she
Nothing.
just likes plants more than people, and like same. So, you know?
Yeah, I love that. And that's something they explore in the show too, the Harley Quinn show, where she's like, she talks about how she doesn't know how to interact with people, but she does with Harley. And like Harley is kind of the exception with a vibe. And it's just so sweet. But I want to go back to the villain talk, because I think to be a good villain, I think you have to be able to make the reader be like, okay, I see where they're coming from. And like under different circumstances, if you weren't murdering people, usually I would think, then we would support you. Like Magneto from the X-Men, like I'm at the point now in my life where I'm like, yeah, Magneto was right. Like, if we're using it as a gay metaphor, like
he just wanted to be a cottagecore lesbian, and they should have
Right?
let him.
Yeah, like
Oh God.
but same for
Heartbreaking.
Poison Ivy. Poison Ivy, Mr. Freeze, all the greatest villains, I think, have that same thing. So we've talked about why you love Harley and Ivy individually as characters. Why do you love them as a couple? And when did you start shipping them?
Okay,
Oh,
so
boy.
the first time I personally was ever like made aware of Poison Ivy was, I mentioned this to you the other day, TJ, but in I think it's 1990, like 6 or 7, the Batman and Robin film with Uma
Yes.
Thurman as Poison Ivy.
Perfect.
So
Oh,
I cannot
yeah.
remember much of that movie except for the Poison Ivy scenes. So like her being born in the lab, when she strips out of the monkey suit at that club, and Batman ends up pulling out like his bat credit card. Like all of that, she's so iconic. And I was like, I love this woman. She's so fun. She's doing her own thing. And I guess it just kind of happened like over the years as I kept watching and reading like Batman DC comic stuff. I was made aware of like their ship, and knowing what I knew about each of them, it just seemed to click. Like their personalities, even though on the outside they seem like very different people, I think they fit together very, very well. I think their motivations, and they're both like very emotional in different ways, and they know what the other one like wants and needs. I don't know, they just click. And I feel like there's very few characters I can say that about without pointing to something, but they have like a natural charisma and like draw towards each other. And that's it. They fit.
Yeah. I think they might be the healthiest ship in Gotham. I'm trying to like come up with an
Yes.
alternative, and I can't
Mhm.
think of anyone who's healthier than these two.
Right. I think, as a kid, seeing them in the animated series, just like so fun. Such
Yeah.
a fun duo. And, when I was a teenager, I was really into the sirens. And I don't remember when I was first like, oh, this is a ship and it works and I like it. But it definitely solidified once watching like the Harley Quinn cartoon. I was like, oh yeah, like it all makes sense now. Like the feelings of, well, maybe they're just good friends. Like that
They were
totally-
roommates.
and they were
Oh my God, they
roommates.
were roommates.
It totally, goes where you're like, oh yeah, they love each other, like accept each other and balance each other out. And the way that Harley can get Ivy to warm up and the way Ivy can get Harley to cool down.
Yeah.
It's a total balancing act. And the way that they're friends first and then
Yes.
girlfriends,
Oh,
it's really meaningful. It's a really meaningful relationship. And I just can't help but root for them, that Ivy has somebody in her life that is trying to understand her and be by her side, and Harley finally has that love in return that she's always wanted and has always sought out, and she finally is rewarded it with somebody very deserving of her.
I was gonna say, Jocelyn, you mentioned Gotham City Sirens. I forgot about that. It's been so long since I read it. But that was also the other thing, because at the start, like in the first volume, when they're going to help Catwoman, it's revealed that like Poison Ivy and Harley have like moved in together in that penthouse.
Yes.
And you read it and you're like, oh yeah, of course they have. Like that's natural. And it just seems so right. And I love the way that was written too, because there was no discussion about it. There was no like, you guys are living here together. It was just completely like, oh yeah, they are. And that makes sense.
They were roommates.
They were roommates.
They were roommates. Simple as that.
There was one
these
comic I was
sirens.
reading where like, I feel like in the comics in general, I can't, correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, when Poison Ivy was introduced, was she like more human-like and now she's green and...
Yeah, it depends on the one, because even in the Long Halloween, she's much more like vines and things. So it really depends on the artist.
Okay. Well, and anyway, the one I was reading, like, she was kind of losing her humanity and becoming more and more like secluded and plant-like all of us during quarantine this past year.
Again, relatable content.
And I just liked the theme that like Harley was kind of her last attachment to her humanity and like kept her from going too far type thing. And I like that aspect of the relationship. Yeah,
absolutely. They have a similar energy, for those of you who watched Parks and Rec, to Andy and April. Like
Oh my gosh, they do.
That energy of
sweet.
I don't like anyone in the world but you, like that is them, and I love it.
Aww.
Very good.
Big fan of that.
Yeah.
It's a great dynamic.
You're so right. Deborah, I'm glad you brought up the Schumacher movies, because when we talked to Anthony Oliveira, I was like, oh my gosh, what if we did Chase Meridian, who was like a psychologist from the Batman Forever, and I was like, what if she was like a Harley Quinn, and then we had a Uma Thurman like Harley Quinn movie. We missed out.
Oh, we so missed out. It would have been hot.
Yes, this leads into my
gosh.
I know, control your urges. But my question for you now is, now we have Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn. She keeps campaigning for a Poison Ivy. It's got to happen sooner or later. Who would you pick to be Poison Ivy, and what would you want to see portrayed on screen between them exactly?
Okay, now that I've said this, Aubrey Plaza as Poison Ivy.
That's a good one.
Right. She has that exact like misanthrope like energy to her. I think she'd be really good at it. And I think she'd be hot with red hair. So there you go.
Her deadpanning is so good.
It's so good.
Okay, red hair. Yes, maybe this is a little bit of my bias in it, but Sophie Turner is Poison Ivy.
Oh.
I think she would make a very good Poison Ivy. I think she has the look. And I think like her and Margot Robbie together, this is like the third time I've said this, they'd be so hot together as an on-screen couple. Also, I think Sophie Turner is an amazing actress. She's like, she can be funny, she can be really serious, and like she has a lot of emotional depth to her acting. So I love to see her as Poison Ivy.
She was Sansa on Game of Thrones, for anyone that doesn't know Sophie Turner.
And I also love Sansa, so I very much am biased here at this point. But as far as what I'd want to see from them, I feel like a heist kind of setup would be really fun to like kick the movie off, kick it all like together, get it going.
What if
they show up at the
meet
same
during the
heist?
Yeah, like they meet at the
That
heist
would
by
be
accident.
So good.
Yeah, show up at the same
But then like
heist.
they show up and there's no like, oh, this is my job, this is my job. It's immediately like, oh, we're both here, we can do better together. And there's no awkward tension, there's no this is my turf. They're like immediately like best villain besties.
I love it.
And then
I'm
I want it to be like
interested in that too.
explicit that they're together. I don't want to be like dancing around it. I don't want it to be like, what if maybe
I could see like, so we already know that Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn is like queer.
Is bisexual, confirmed.
Exactly.
Yes.
So we had that confirmed in Birds of Prey, like in running with this idea that we're developing. Like I would love to see like Poison Ivy throughout the movie reckoning with if she has feelings for Harley, not because she's a woman, but because like she's so
a human.
Exactly.
Right.
So like I would like as a metaphor for accepting your queer love, like I would love to see that.
Seeing something like their parallels like in Arkham, like maybe their paths never crossed there, but they're like, wait a minute, something's up with you, and it's like, oh my god, I was there too, and like
weren't you that therapist?
Like they point at each other like, yeah, like something like that.
Oh.
So I'm interested in that. Like they knew each other without knowing each other, so it's like, oh my god, they were meant to be.
I love it. Do you have a casting for it, JOCELYN?
I don't think I do, other than
Do you want to phone a friend? Phone a friend.
I will offer up a second option for you.
Offers.
I see this get tossed around on Tumblr every now and then, but some people really like Blake Lively as Poison Ivy. They think that would be a good option.
I don't like that one, and I can't explain it.
I have one.
That's
Someone
fair.
asked me.
Okay.
No,
what's yours, TJ? Tell me.
Ask me. Okay.
TJ, what is it?
I saw this on Twitter like probably a couple years ago, and I was like, you know what? Yeah. Justice for Megan Fox, and she's super hot. And I think she has a very good down-to-earth vibe about her while still being very sexy. I want to see Megan Fox as Poison Ivy.
That's interesting. I think I'm having trouble thinking.
I'm not here for it.
Because all the actresses I know, they're like 90s and before. So I'm like, oh, we got Liv Tyler.
Let's bring the Lord of the Rings back in here.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, JOCELYN, I misunderstood what you said, and I thought you meant like in their 90s, and I'm like, Betty White.
I mean, we just
Maggie
read this
Smith.
comic.
Come on, Dame Maggie Smith.
She's been a Golden Girl, now she's gonna be a Green Girl.
I love.
Come on, Betty White.
Yeah, I love it.
Oh, I would like to see like flashbacks to them in Arkham, like her as her therapist, and then them meeting at this heist. Let's just write our own scripts.
Put somebody in a straitjacket, a little bit of bondage happening.
Ooh.
What about the soundtrack? Who are we getting for the soundtrack?
Oh my gosh, Halsey has to be in it.
Oh,
Halsey. No, I want Lana.
Lana.
I want Lana.
It should all be like the like queer classics of women, just like Halsey, Lana, like
that's good. For the gays.
For the gays. Miley.
Demi Lovato.
Just another like, what was it for Charlie's Angels? It was Ariana, Lana, and Miley for Don't Call Me Angel. I want something like that.
Perfect. We love it.
Also, I wouldn't be mad if Taylor Swift had a song on that soundtrack. I'm
Okay,
thinking like Bad
I'd be
Blood
mad.
era.
I would absolutely kill for Taylor Swift to write a song about Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn. I want to know what it sounds like, please.
Like as they're breaking out of Arkham Asylum or like finishing up their heist, like a building is exploding behind them, the Taylor Swift soundtrack kicks in, and you're like, "Oh my god,
Oh,
girl,
100%. Please, Taylor Reputation era would be perfect for the two of them. I love it.
oh yes."
So we always ask all of our guests if they had any opportunity to tell any Batman related or Gotham related story, what would your story be? You have no restrictions. We've locked editorial in the closet, so you can do whatever you want.
okay. I'm gonna do something Batman Beyond. I'm
Ooh.
going Terry.
Yes.
I miss some Terry.
Yes.
Except in this version, I'm gonna get Harley's granddaughters involved once more.
Ooh.
And I want something like Return of the Joker, but more gritty. I want that violence. I want that sex. I want that Pulp Fiction moment. But who's Terry? Who's Terry? Who we casting as Terry?
Oh my goodness. Timothy Chalamet.
I was about to say that.
He's in everything. You may as well.
Timothy Chalamet and Zendaya everywhere. No, not Timmy. Not Timmy Chalamet. Someone good. Someone unexpected. Wait a minute. Terry McGinnis. I don't want Cole Sprouse. I want Dylan Sprouse as Terry. Oh my god.
I love this.
Him with the dark hair and holy moly.
Wasn't he just in the After sequel? Was that him?
Yeah, I think it was.
He came out of acting for that. He should have just waited. He would have got Batman Beyond.
I love that you're gonna give him the dark hair too, so he's like fully copying his brother's style. they're just both brunettes now.
Yes.
Oh, I love it.
And I'm very interested in that.
I love it too.
Yeah. For a
Perfect.
second, I thought you were gonna say old Harley was gonna be like his mentor or something. That's where I thought you were
interesting.
going.
Oh,
I like that
also,
too.
but I want. Okay, there's not going to be a Commissioner Jim Gordon because he's dead.
Mhm.
But somehow I'm going to get Pedro Pascal in here.
Ooh.
Pedro Pascal is going to be the villain. He's going to
Oh,
be the villain.
Yes.
We're going to have
Oh my
a
god.
Chilean Joker. It's Pedro.
Ooh.
This movie's going to be the bee's knees. See you at Cannes.
Suddenly I like the Joker.
You're gonna do this horrible
He's
thing
looking
to
real
me by
good.
making me care about the Joker because it's Pedro Pascal, but here we go.
Oh, Dios mío.
Deborah, do you
This
have a
is
story?
beautiful. I love that. So I guess mine would be like it's not a fully fledged story, but like maybe a scenario. So I'm thinking like fan fiction-y.
Yes.
Here's the scene. It's Halloween time in Gotham. Both Harley and Ivy are working on a case that eventually connects, but they don't know it. And they have to go to a masquerade ball. I don't know why yet, but there's a masquerade ball. And they both dress up without knowing it as the other person. So Ivy dresses as
Oh, that's so
Harley.
good.
Harley dresses as Ivy. And they go there. They're both like working their angles, trying to get the scoop on whatever they need. And at one point, they like meet eyes from across the room and they like go towards each other and like, oh my gosh, you make a really good Ivy. And she's like, oh thanks, you make a really good Harley. And it goes from there, but then like a big chaotic thing happens. Batman like bursts through the skylight, ruining their precious moment. And they separate and they don't know who the other person is. They like don't know who that Harley's Ivy and Ivy's Harley. And so as they're working their cases, they like get glimpses of each other, but it always gets cut off. And then on actual Halloween night, they just go like all out to bring their own plans to a culmination. They end up at the same place and they're like, oh my God, it's you. And they finish up pulling off the heist together. And then they like get in a convertible and drive off into like the Halloween sunset moon. And that's
Wow.
Perfect.
it.
Deborah, I
Roll
love how you
credits.
You led with, I don't have a fully fleshed out idea, and then you storyboarded the entire
I know.
That was
It
beautiful.
was an audio drama. I feel like that
So-
was a pitch for a DC Inc. YA novel.
Yeah, make it happen.
Anybody can write that about Grant Morrison. Anybody else can write that.
Oh my gosh.
Anybody but Grant Morrison, the tagline of this show.
Aw.
So that's my Halloween fanfic.
That was beautiful.
Well, Deborah and Jocelyn, this has been so much fun. I'm glad we could have you both on together, and we would love to have you
Yeah.
back again at some
Please.
point.
Oh,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yes, absolutely is right. It's been a real treat, real refreshing, real fun. The cat's meow.
Where can
And
our
a
listeners
pleasure.
where can our listeners find you online? Deborah, you've got to shout out your incredibly famous TikTok.
Mhm.
You can find me doing dumb stuff that comes to mind on my TikTok. It's at Darth Deborah. It's like Darth Vader, but with more Deborah. Yeah, go give me a follow.
I heard you were recognized in a movie theater bathroom once. Can you confirm or deny?
I will confirm it. I went to see a movie and I was standing at the sink washing my hands. And this little girl came up behind me and she started telling me how she recognized me from my TikTok account. And I didn't know what to do. And I might have scared her a little bit. But yeah, so I'm basically famous. If anybody wants an autograph, I will happily oblige.
Ooh.
Love this.
I got something for you to sign.
What's that? Titties?
Oh,
Show you later.
anytime.
Show you later.
And Jocelyn, where can our listeners find you?
Yes, my Twitter is at Sylveon Quartz, like the Pokemon. And my Instagram is at Mayor Jossie. I'm a real life mayor.
Well, thank you both so much, and we will talk more soon.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank
so
you.
much.
Bye.
Yes.
Deborah, what do you want to
Okay.
impersonate?
I will just give a try to a classic Batman. So I'm just gonna start laughing. Okay. Who? I'm Batman.
God, get him, Bruce.
That didn't sound different from your voice at all.
I can't do it.
That was really cute.
Okay.
though.
She goes. Wait, don't look at me. She goes, you thought it was just another bubble-headed blonde bimbo. Well, joke's on you. I'm not even a real blonde.
That's pretty good.
She gets
So good.
the
I'm dead. That was beautiful.
Oh, stop it. You flatter me.